Hello, everybody, and welcome to What the Hell Should I Watch? I'm Steve Stebbing.
I'm Chloe Stebbing.
And we are your weekly rundown of what we're watching that may become something you're watching over the next weekend and week. And we come at you every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time right here on Steve Stebbing's YouTube channel, my YouTube channel. That was so bad.
Who? Who's that guy?
Me.
I don't
That's
know.
me, Steve Stebbing, the channel. And if you have any questions or comments or something you want us to cover, you can also comment down below. If I elbow these shelves next to me, good stuff. Starting off well.
Smooth.
So let's move right into the first teased review of the week. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Two ancient titans, Godzilla and Kong, clash in an epic battle as humans unravel their intertwined origins and connection to Skull Island's mysteries. Starring Rebecca Hall, Dan Stevens, and Brian Tyree Henry. Directed by Adam Wingard.
And Adam Wingard is like your next guy. He did a bunch of the VHS little shorts and stuff. He's generally a horror guy. Death Note on Netflix, the live action one. The Blair Witch from 2016. I don't know if you ever watched that one.
The bad one.
Yes, the bad one. But lately he's been the go-to guy for the Monsterverse for Legendary Pictures. And these movies, I mean, they're big, dumb, and full of monsters, exactly what's expected of them. I don't think they're steering us wrong. In this movie in particular, as far as the human element goes, Dan Stevens is great in every moment he's on screen, but Dan Stevens is also great in everything he does. He is like a genre favorite for sure, but everything, he just excels in everything. It's kind of interesting, in my opinion, that this film was released in 2024, which is 10 years after the release of the Godzilla with Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bryan Cranston. But it's also the 70th anniversary of the Godzilla franchise all on its own. And even the guys that made Godzilla -1, Takeshi Yamazaki, really enjoyed this one as well. Maybe it's a little just cross-promotion whoring or whatever, but he gave it a seal of approval. So, I mean, we have almost the genre blessing, the big monster blessing of having two Godzilla movies within a year. And I had fun, and I would rather watch a bunch more of these movies than the Fast and Furious movies at this point. Like, that franchise has kind of burnt itself out, maybe even more than the last couple Jurassic Park movies that they churned out. I enjoy the Monsterverse more, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely agree. And that's coming from somebody who's like it's on like my Letterboxd favorites. At least I think it is. I put it on there. I might have I don't know. I think it's on there. But Jurassic Park 3, which is the one that everybody makes fun of.
Alan.
But that's my favorite one. Yeah, and Dominion just dashed all my hopes and dreams.
Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, both those movies. Fallen Kingdom is very dumb at its core. It's super dumb. And there's really terrible character decisions. They make also that Lost World mistake of bringing it to like mainland and everything. There's the super depressing Brontosaurus is dying on a lava island. There's a lot at play, and Dominion is, I mean, to be quick and get off the tangent about it, Dominion is about bugs in the end.
Yeah.
That movie's not even really about dinosaurs, it's about bugs.
Stop! He's already dead.
Yeah. And it's not good. But this film, Godzilla X Kong, do I have to say the full title? We'll just call it Godzilla X Kong. They join forces. There's a shot of them running together at one point.
Yeah, I've seen that.
but still, as dumb as it is, it's still a 3 out of 5. Like, it's still a fun movie. So, all in all, I would still recommend it, and it is a theater movie. And sadly, we didn't get you into an advanced screening of it.
Yeah, and this was actually the first Godzilla movie since the 2014 one that I haven't seen in theaters.
Oh, snap. So, are you going to go see this one? Is this one still on the list that you're going to go
Yeah.
see? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely has to be. All right, so let's move on to a very different movie. Very different movie, but this one is about two monster performances, and it's Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley in Wicked Little Letters.
When people in Littlehampton, including conservative local Edith, begin to receive letters full of hilarious profanities, rowdy Irish migrant Rose is charged with the crime. Suspecting that something is amiss, the town's women investigate, and this is directed by Thea Sharrock.
This is such a solid movie, just in its crowd pleaser quality. Olivia Colman is just a fantastic actress. She's great in everything she does. She's so versatile, has so much range. But when you put her in a good character driven story that's also based on a true story, and then you put her opposite Jessie Buckley, who is a fantastic actress. She was in Men. She was in the Charlie Kaufman movie, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Oh, it was on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that one. It's so weird. I feel like it's up your alley as far as films go. It because it's the same director as Synecdoche, New York. So or Adaptation. If you haven't seen any of those films, those are all like films.
Okay.
But they are both really, really good in it. They both lean into what makes them great actresses, like not like the cliched things, but like their star quality within their work. Also, Timothy Spall is in this, and he's always at his best when he's his most dastardly and his most bad guy. And he definitely delivers all of that. The police element I really liked in this because it's both comical and a really kind of feminist in its core with one of the characters, which also leads to the fact that the supporting cast in this is really good as well. And at the end of the day, the chemistry between Olivia Colman and Jessie Buckley is so undeniable and really makes the film in the end. And it's another one of those solid watches, and especially just kind of like a Saturday afternoon movie. It really works. So I enjoyed this one, and I think it's playing in a limited release through Mongrel Media. The next one is a film that I saw at VIFF, and now it gets some sort of a limited release in Canada. It's called The Old Oak.
The future for the last remaining pub, the Old Oak, in a village of northeast England, where people are leaving the land as the mines are closed. Houses are cheap and available, thus making it an ideal location for Syrian refugees. Directed by Ken Loach.
And this is like a special one because Ken Loach is, when it comes to this film festival, basically the only film festival I've attended in my reviewing days. His films are like a big deal to me when it comes to this festival. Like, I saw, I want to say it was Daniel Blake was my first year at the festival, and it was like one of the first screenings of the festival that I saw, and it rocked me because Ken Loach is a English filmmaker who can make these really um pointed and knowing stories about the middle and lower class in England, and these stories of neighborhoods, and just like a certain, like, even like the downtrodden, those on welfare and everything. Daniel Blake is a large part of that. Sorry We Missed You is another part of that. And he just has an incredible ability of putting that under the microscope and making it incredibly raw, incredibly believable, which is sad that The Old Oak is his last film, so there won't be any new Ken Loach films, which makes me sad because you're going to be joining on the circuit with me this year for the film festival. And I'm like, we don't have that one filmmaker that makes these festivals to me. But we do have Harukazu Kurita, who's churning out like my favorite films of the festival every year. So, well, we still have one. But I really, really love this film. It is about a very a very interesting message and an interesting thing going on in the world with refugees having to be taken in by countries and everything, and then those neighborhoods assimilating to it and everything, and the pitfalls of it there, and but as well as these communities coming together and creating something beautiful. And the Old Oak is very much pointed in his message at that. And it's, this being Ken Loach's final film, it's a really good message to go out on, and a really beautiful film that also equally hit me right in the heart and got the tears out of me for sure, as do all of his films at this point. I haven't there hasn't been a miss yet in my opinion, but just an incredible filmmaker. Right, let's move on to a French film, Saint Omer.
Follows Rama, a novelist who attends the trial of Lawrence Coley at the St. Omer Criminal Court, to use her story to write a modern day adaptation of the ancient myth of Medea. But things don't go as expected. Written and directed by Alice Diop.
And this one's actually part of the Criterion Collection, like part of the numbered Criterion Collection, and not like Lynch Oz last week was released by Criterion, but not within the actual numbered collection. And I didn't know that going in, and I streamed this one, and it is a very powerful film about a woman accused of murdering her 15-month-old child. Like I mean, the subject matter is harsh and stark and very raw, but the approach to the subject material, I thought, relied more on the spoken word storytelling, because it was all courtroom testimony, like basically very static shot of someone telling their testimony. So nothing like hugely dynamic, but the story going on in the words, which I don't know, makes it really, really, really dry to me, and could come off a little bit boring here and there. But the film is based on the true story of Fabienne Cabot, a mother who in 2013 abandoned her 15-month-old daughter on the beach in Brex-sur-Mer uh, at high tide. And Alice Diop, the film's director and co-writer, attended the trial, and essentially she's the main character in this film. Like, she just kind of transplanted her um, experience to this film, and it made it to the top 15 of the Oscar nominations as France's official not submission, but as we all know, it didn't make it to the top 5. So pretty solid film, and I can see why it's in the Criterion Collection, but I think it is a bit dry in its try to be divisive. The next one is a documentary. It is The Truth versus Alex Jones.
Centers on the families of the victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting. They take Alex Jones, a conspiracy theorist, to court for spreading lies about the event being a hoax. Directed by Dan Reed, and it's available on Crave.
Look, if you hate Alex Jones and I hate Alex Jones, this just compounds it. You know what I mean? So any piece of shit that would take a tragedy like this and within 2 hours blow it up to what it became, the hoax thing became, is sick and disgusting. And to hear it from these parents' mouths a decade after it, and see what they went through, like the things that Alex Jones preyed on and picked apart and manipulated and everything. As a parent, it's like you just want to strangle this dude. Like, in your mind, you're just it's gross. It's infuriating to watch. And even the ending kind of, like, there is a justice in that they basically sued him and won like close to $1 billion, but by by the time the documentary is released, none of the money has been paid, and, and Alex Jones has declared bankruptcy, and all the evils of what he perpetuated are still out there and still being used and still being preyed upon. Alex Jones is still running Infowars. The show is still going. There's been no change in that. And yeah, it's just gross. It's just gross stuff, and
Yeah.
it's part of that gross stuff in the world that you're just, it infuriates you, and then it's, passed down generation to generation.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
And seems like that kind of stuff is just getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, and more people are latching on to it
Mm-hmm.
and believing it. Just all the stuff in that sphere.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, and it's being emboldened, and it's been celebrated, and you want to see a little bit of justice, and for the tiny bit of justice that comes through in this documentary, it's it's just not enough. It really isn't enough. So let's move on to a little bit of a lighter note in documentary, but we're still hitting documentary, and this is You Can Call Me Bill.
An intimate portrait of William Shatner's personal journey over 9 decades on this earth. You Can Call Me Bill strips away all the masks he has worn to embody countless characters and reveals the man behind it all. Written and directed by Alexander O'Philippe.
And this is like more than an intimate thing. It's like Shatner is like spiritual, and I mean, I assume it's a spirituality that a lengthy career in make believe, and clearly lots of money have allowed him to have these. But I mean, he's built this empire and everything, so it is kind of neat to watch him kind of move through that spirituality and look at his career through that lens. I thought it was pretty cool. And it was cool to see him go to space, because I do cover that he went to space with Dr. Evil. Um, uh, Jeff Bezos. Um, and to see him experience like when he got to Earth and everything, and to emote, and because I mean the guy broke down, right? Definitely emotional to go to be in space, be in the stars, and feel that weightlessness and everything, and feel that
Yeah.
infinite thing, and then come back to Earth in a dick shaped rocket. Um, Again, this is the reality of the situation. Um, I thought it was interesting. And also I found it refreshing, and I liked it to see a man of his age and of his generation to deeply acknowledge climate change. I was like, whoa, that happens? Like it feels rare. It feels rare where you're like, whoa, especially a public figure like that to really tout on that. I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And all the Denny Crane stuff. I'm a big Boston Legal fan, so all the Denny Crane like focus stuff I was all about. So it was a nice documentary. And definitely not one that's it's coming from him, so it's just going to be more personal, and it's not going to, this is when it's not about unearthing skeletons or anything like that. So all right, let's move now on to television. This one I had to stream through Slack TV through Prime, which is a whole weird rigmarole thing. This is called Apples Never Fall.
The Delaney family seems happy, but Joy disappears, forcing her husband and 4 adult children to reassess their family history. Starring Sam Neill, Annette Bening, Jake Lacey, and Allison Brie. Created by Melanie Marnich, based on the novel by Leanne Moriarty.
Yeah, and so yeah, the Slack thing, because this is a Peacock original, which is a streaming service in the States run by NBC Viacom, and not available in Canada. So we have to wait for certain services to pick it up, whether it be the big, well, it would never be Netflix. It would either be Prime or Disney Plus or Crave. I was really kind of disappointed that this one didn't at first, because it's been out for a few weeks now. I didn't make its way to any Canadian service, because I like Annette Bening a lot. She's kind of like the ever since, oh my, like The Grifters, I think I've just been all about her. And then Sam Neill being in this, huge fan. I mean, I'm a Jurassic Park kid,
Alan.
so anything with Sam Neill is going to be an immediate sell to me. I'm also an Event Horizon guy. I don't know how you versed you are on your 90s horror or like gothic horror or like space gothic horror, but Event Horizon is a must see. And In the Mouth of Madness, which is directed by John Carpenter, must sees. And this will cement why Sam Neill is so important. He's like the one of the most important men from Down Under, because I think he's from New Zealand.
Yeah.
But he's incredible. I also like the supporting cast in this series. Jake Lacey I really liked from I'm Dying Up Here, which will be the second time I brought this up on this show in the last, I think, 3 weeks, because it's a show about the comedies, like the comedy circuit in the 70s. And Jake Lacey plays like a heroin addict, a former heroin addict comic, who's really great. And Alison Brie, I've been a fan of since Community, and I think she's made a lot of great moves since Community. Because Glow is fantastic. It's on Netflix. I really enjoyed that show. It was injustice that we didn't get a wrap up on that series. That they did the final Netflix chop on it, and we didn't even get a movie. Like, not even a movie. They gave Breaking Bad an unnecessary movie, and Glow doesn't get a movie. Doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, that
I
El Camino's unnecessary.
yeah, I
Like,
guess.
I don't see, I don't know, like audiences have a problem with ambiguity to the
Yeah.
point that we need to be spoon fed something else. And was there anything in El Camino that we felt like, oh well, I'm glad that happened?
I don't really remember anything that happened in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was about Pinkman, I think.
It is about
Yeah.
Pinkman. Yeah, it's all about Pinkman, and who by this point had enough depth of character to warrant something more, but not that. Like, it just didn't feel. It felt ineffectual,
Yeah.
completely ineffectual. Where were we going with? Oh, I was talking about Alison Brie. See, that's how it happens.
I will say, like, I haven't seen Apples Never Fall, but I've seen like the advertisements and I've heard them on the radio. And just, could they have picked a better title than Apples Never Fall? Because
Ye-
like I first heard it on the radio and I was like, well, that's stupid.
Yeah, well, what they're setting up in episode 1 is the disappearance of their mother, obviously, but the fact that everybody in this family has a darkness of character to them. So assuming that the title would mean that the apple never falls far from the tree, and there's 3 kids.
See, that's what I was thinking of that
Mhm.
saying, but they chopped out all the parts that make it an actual statement.
Yeah, it's just it's the problem of studio execs probably stepping in and cutting
Yeah.
words out.
It's gotta make it catchy, even though it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. But in the book, it's funny that the story takes place in Australia, because that's where Leanne Moriarty, the author, is from. But they for this adaptation, it's set in America, but they filmed it in Australia.
What's the point of that?
I I don't know. I don't know. And the fly the American actors out there. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird to me. But the writer of this one, she's already known in a big way because her book was adapted into the series Big Little Lies, which was pretty popular. I didn't see the series myself, but it was pretty popular. All right, so let's go to BritBox for Time.
Eric is a prison officer who tries to protect those in his charge. When one of the most dangerous inmates identifies his weakness, Eric faces an impossible choice between his principles and his love for his family. starring Sean Bean and Stephen Graham. Sean Bean.
Sean Bean. He doesn't die in this.
Oh my god.
There was that thing where he dies and everything. Well, at least not
Mhm.
yet. I mean, I've only seen one of 3 episodes because these seasons, they're BBC shows, right? So they're 3 episode seasons. And each season follows an inmate and a prison guard. So season 1 is Sean Bean and Stephen Graham from Snatch, who Stephen Graham's amazing. There's a show on Netflix right now called Bodies that he's really good on. And then season 2 stars an actress probably very relevant to you in the last little bit. Bella Ramsey is the lead, and Jodie Whittaker is the prison guard. Jodie Whittaker, it was Doctor Who recently. um and I mean, I think it's another good piece of the BBC catalog to now be put onto BritBox, where it seems to be the catch-all for anything BBC or ITV. And it's just really kind of like a testament to how great of a streaming service that is, just as a focused one, because I know internationally there's so many people that are into British television, and to have it all in one place. And some of their weird stuff's on there, and I love weird BBC stuff like the Mighty Boosh and stuff like that. Like I'm into that kind of stuff, especially the old school stuff. Rowan Atkinson, like, again, just a huge library of stuff. And time is a quick, it's just a quick fix. 6 episodes and you're done the whole series. And I am a sucker for a prison series, and it was filmed in the real Shrewsbury prison, which is in Shropshire, UK, which is like a decommissioned one. It was decommissioned in February 2013. And it's now an interactive and immersive historical site. You can even spend the night there if you want. It's the weirdest Airbnb you probably would ever spend a night in. But yeah, I found that out while researching this show. So yeah, I dug it. It's it's a few hours. It's basically like one long movie. All right, so let's move to A Gentleman in Moscow.
A Russian aristocrat is spared from death and placed on house arrest while the Bolshevik Revolution plays out before him, starring Ewan McGregor, created by Ben Vanstone based on the book by Immortals. And it is available on Prime Video and Paramount Plus.
Okay, so in Russian history, the Bolshevik stuff is crazy. Just the outright executing of everybody like on the street is like, holy shit, like that. It's real stuff. Like it's crazy. And so I mean, that time period was something like I didn't know what this show was about getting into it. I just saw that Ewan McGregor was in it. He had a big Russian mustache. I was like, all right, let's do this. And yeah, it's about this like right smack dab in the middle of this turnover of government. And basically taking this aristocrat and holding him up in the servants quarters and being like, you can't leave. If you leave, you die. And him trying to conspire to get out of there. It's fascinating stuff. It's a little weird. It's definitely very art house in its scope and in its art direction. Like, it's gorgeous in some of the shots, like really gorgeous, and like reminds you of like Russian literature and stuff. Like, it's really nice looking. But yeah, it's just how wild and brutal this story is, and completely unpredictable. Keeps me on the ride. And Ewan McGregor, like, I love the guy. And I think I saw something that as we're recording this, today is his 52nd birthday. So
I thought he was older than that.
yeah, well, he's looking good for his age, though. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, his wife, is in this show. This would be their 3rd collaboration, because it was Fargo, Birds of Prey, and then now this. So yeah. So I liked episode 1. It keeps you engaged, and I'm down for more for sure. Let's move into something I had on Blu-ray for a little bit, and I finally got to finishing it off. So I thought I'd say few little things about it. It's called Lovecraft Country.
A young African American travels across the U.S. in the 1950s in search of his missing father, starring Jonathan Majors and Journey Smollett, created by Misha Green based on the novel by Matt Ruff, and it's available on Crave.
Yeah, so it's also produced by Jordan Peele. It is super weird and super violent. Yes, cat cameo. That is perfect. That is perfect. But and I know we shouldn't be in a time right now where we're praising Jonathan Majors as he was found guilty of assault on his on his ex-girlfriend. So we won't praise him as a person, but we'll praise him as a performer because he's really, really good in this. And Journey Smollett is really great in this too. I also like Ingenue Ellis. I think she's fantastic. And this show is so weird. It's always going for the gusto. I don't know if you ever got a chance to check any of these episodes out, but episode 1 has the craziest and most violent ending, like cabin in the woods style like ending. It is like always going for something weird, and um a lot of great performers in this. Abby Lee is in this one in just a really whacked out role. And this is one of the final things that Michael Kenneth Williams did. He played Omar on The Wire, as well as Chalky on Boardwalk Empire. Had a huge body of work, and just an incredible actor. So yeah, finally getting through all 10 episodes. I don't know if Misha Green meant for this to just be a standalone 10 episodes or if there was supposed to be a season 2, because there does feel like there is a finality to this show, but also there are things that I'm like, I could see them setting stuff up. So yeah, I was kind of I would be interested in more. I know the ship has sailed on it clearly, but because it was 2020, I believe this aired, and we're sitting in 2024, and shows from 2023 are dropping. So yeah, I think the time for this one is over. But definitely an enjoyable standalone show. Then I recommend it to you. I think you would like it, and it's got some good gore to it.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's on Crave, so it's easily accessible. Let's do some quick bits, because I've either reviewed them before or or I've reviewed them before. And then and then Chloe has got one for us to go out on this week. So let's talk Suze. It came out. I reviewed it the beginning of March on the March 1st episode. It is now available on VOD. A really, really fun comedy drama with Michaela Watkins and Charlie Gillespie. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So that's, I don't know, a seal of approval if there is one. Like a 4 out of 5. I don't just hand those ones out to any old film. Also, Ticket to Paradise is now on 4K with George Clooney and Julia Roberts, a movie that skates by on its appeal for both actors, but it also has Caitlin Dever in it, and I adore her. She's just so much fun. And I think Billy Lord is in it too, and I mean, she emulates Carrie Fisher. She emulates her mom like crazy, so I definitely love to see her on the screen. And I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. That's not too bad. So it's enjoyable enough. Harriet is also on 4K. This is Cynthia Erivo playing Harriet Tubman in the biopic from Cassie Lemons. And looks really great and technically fantastic to look at, but not, it was not a favorite for me. It was a 2 out of 5, but I gave it on Letterboxd. And I reviewed that one back on The Shift with Shane Hewitt on the radio when we were on Radio in January of 2020. As far as Ticket to Paradise, I reviewed that on The Shift on December in 2022. And you can actually go back on his archive of podcasts and listen to those because they're all archived on Apple and on iTunes. All of the old the Shift episodes, which is pretty cool. Also, I don't even know if I reviewed this one, but it was my favorite movie of 2023. It was The Iron Claw with Zac Efron and Harris Dickinson and Jeremy Allen White and Holt McCallany and Maura Tierney. And it is an incredible film that I saw at the end of December, right as I was making my best of 2023 list, and it just completely upset the apple cart. Like it was just throwing wild cards everywhere. And it is a movie about wrestling, which is something I absolutely love, but a story about the Von Erichs that is a very interesting and sad story. And Zac Efron gives like the performance of his career in it. He is so incredible. But it is now out on Blu-ray for everyone to pick up. And in my mind, a perfect film. And one that even if you don't like wrestling, that is still definitely worth checking out. Also, Freud's last session is on DVD only. I reviewed this on the January 12th episode of What the Hell Should I Watch? And I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. It's a great performances from both Anthony Hopkins and Matthew Good, because they never phone it in. It's just their ability, it's their superpower. But the movie is just too dry around it. It's just not enough. Also, Out of Darkness. I reviewed this film on February 9th. It is like a caveman horror film. I think you should check this one out. I think you might find it interesting, especially in the way they scope this story and especially the way they scope the acts. Moving into that third act is very, very interesting. I gave it a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I definitely dug it. And like I said, I reviewed it on the February 9th episode. But you have a movie to bring. What is the film called, though? Because I'm not saying that.
Uh, humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person.
A young woman vampire is unable to kill to meet her need for blood, but may have found a solution in a young man with suicidal tendencies.
Yeah, so we start the movie off with Sasha, the main vampire character. It's her birthday. I don't know how old she is, but she looks like she's about 6 or 7. Maybe a little bit older. And yeah, they're having a birthday party for her, and then they bring in a clown that's her main present, and she loves clowns. But the thing is that they brought him over so that they could eat him, and he was supposed to be her first kill, but she's not able to do it. And so time just continues on, and more arguments happen between the parents because she's not killing people for food, and that's like what you need to do as a vampire. Um, and at one point, they think that she's autistic, so they like bring her to like a psychologist. But overall, it is a really, really good movie. It's interesting. It's all in French, so if you don't speak French, you do have to watch it with subtitles. This comes out of Quebec, Canada.
They,
Um,
they have some treasures there. There are some
yeah,
really great French Canadian films come out. We also have to remember that Denis Villeneuve comes from a French Canadian film as well. So
yeah. It was like I couldn't help but think that it was what Twilight could have been. Because there is that love story aspect between Sasha and Henry or Henri, but it's never like fully talked about or explored. And there's a lot of euphemisms because he's supposed to be her first kill, but the way that they word everything makes it sound like they're trying to lose their virginity, which technically is what's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's a really interesting and different watch, and it's all filmed at night.
Right.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
it's pretty cool. Yeah. I would definitely recommend it to people
Where can you find this one?
on Crave.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to add it to the list for sure. All right. So that is basically everything for this week. Next week, I finally get to see Late Night with the Devil. With have you seen the trailer for this movie at all?
I think so.
It is they carry out an exorcism on like a 70s talk show.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I also want to check that out.
well, I was surprised. I honestly didn't think I would get it here in Penticton, but we're getting it, so I bought a ticket right away. So that is going to be my movie that I'm teasing as our number one for next week, and I'm really excited to check that out. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads at the Stevel Dead.
You can
Chloe.
find me on Letterboxd at Honeybun Chloe or just Chloe Stebbing.
And then you can, you're not on any other social media, so you can comment down below to ask any questions or bring any recommendations to this show at all. You can find this show right here on this YouTube channel, Steve Stebbing, as well as stevestebbing.ca. And I'm also on Shane Hewitt's website, shiftheads.ca. And I'll also go to the Shift Heads on Facebook to join that group. And they're rocking at like over 4,000 people now at this point. So yeah, join the conversation there. And well, that basically empties our list for this week. So we got to go fill it up. So until then, have a good week.